Thank you for your ballot, good citizen. I'll just run that through our vote counting software. Scan your marks, change this T to a B, dot the I, and it's gone.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. The election of 2020 was 6 long years ago, but looking at the results, it still stings a bit because, well, it's clearly stolen. It makes my blood boil. It makes me visibly angry watching states like Arizona get stolen in the dark of night. President Trump was up by like 10 points in this state. And then look here, just 10,000 votes, and they hand it very quickly right over to Joe Biden. The same thing in the state of Georgia. This is a state that was clearly a Trump victory state. Joe Biden barely got any support. But you can see here in the dark of night, Joe Biden gets just a few extra votes in order to put him up over the top, 49.5%. 49.2%. Such small margins, really. It's like almost mathematically impossible, especially if you look at the vote totals. And that's where this guy comes in. This is part of the reason why I personally believe President Trump was so dead set on arresting Nicolas Maduro. And I have this on good authority. I want to just talk with you about a phone call that I had with a friend of mine who is in, let's just say, clandestine diplomatic circles, been doing it for a while, and is at a top level, one of those levels of statecraft where he's actually met one-on-one with Nicolas Maduro. Doesn't make him a bad person. This is just what people do in his line of work. And he's had conversations with Nicolas Maduro and his team. And what did my buddy have to say about the arrest of Nicolas Maduro? And I find this particularly fascinating. There is a concept, an idea out there that Venezuela is this independent state that voted for a president and Nicolas Maduro is their president. This is, of course, a lie. The people of Venezuela voted overwhelmingly for a different man to be their president. And this just happened last year. But Nicolas Maduro was able to steal that election, was able to manipulate, even though millions and millions of people voted against him, he was able to use the machines in Venezuela to manipulate the election totals and win his election and just seize power. He's an illegitimate dictator, autocrat. He's somebody who very much fancies himself a king, right? Not responsible to the people. And yet he's being defended by the left, who marches in the streets claiming, no kings, but they're the ones supporting this literal king, right? He has no right to rule. He was voted out of office, but he used the machinery of Venezuelan election technology to stay in office. And this is the way that communists in Venezuela have stayed in office for the better part of the last 3 decades. And this is what was fascinating to me in this conversation with my buddy in clandestine diplomatic circles. He explained to me that this technology has been shipped around the world. It's a very stupid decision by Western leaders and leaders around the globe alike to allow this Venezuelan technology to be imported into their countries, unless, of course, that technology promised to be able to deliver results like this. Ladies and gentlemen, Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems were the voting systems being used at this time and in these states. And all around the world, they are Venezuelan by design and by systems and storage facilities and through their actual technology. These systems, I have on extremely good authority, can and do rig elections around the world. Now, how does this lead us to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro? Well, Nicolas Maduro knows where all the bodies are buried. Venezuela is effectively just a proxy state that was being run by Russia and China and Iran. They were running operations here against America using, yes, the election rigging technology, also using chemical warfare, this in the form of fentanyl, and biological warfare in the form of flooding our nation with third world criminal aliens, migrants to collapse our systems, right? And this is what they're doing. This is the Cloward-Piven model. You flood welfare states with criminal aliens that need to suck up all the welfare and resources, and you eventually get to a point where your debt is so big it becomes untenable and it collapses. So whether it's killing people, millions of people with fentanyl, which is a chemical weapon or biological weapon, or destroying democracy with electronic weapons like the electronic voting systems. And here is what I find particularly fascinating about my conversation is that this individual tells me that Nicolas Maduro admits to rigging the election. Just straight up said that Nicolas Maduro told him directly that he has direct, hard evidence of the election of 2020 being rigged, that he knows exactly how it was done, that they had a hand in it, but it wasn't really Venezuela running the op. It was probably more likely China. And that he is in possession of all of that evidence. What? This is why you see the globalists around the world just bricking in their pants. They're terrified because Venezuela was ground zero for election theft, for the warfare and ops that were run against our country by other nations. And Nicolas Maduro might be Trump's final revenge for the election theft of 2020. If he begins to sing like a canary, which he will, they always do, then who will he give up? Soros? China? Left-wing NGOs? Left-wing billionaires? Who was funding his regime? How they stole the election? He'll sing. He'll tell them everything. They got his wife. This is why they took him alive. I learned all this from my conversation, and it really checks out, quite frankly. It really checks out. And this is something that makes a ton of sense to me. And if you don't believe me, well, then just listen to the President of the United States. You'd think that Donald Trump would be banging his chest on Truth Social, talking maybe about all of the things that they were able to do in Venezuela, perhaps some of the drug smuggling or open borders. But no, instead, Donald Trump, in the small hours after Nicolas Maduro was arrested, has gone on a rampage posting election theft videos that prove that the election was stolen in 2020. Is that a coincidence, many are asking? Nope, don't think so. A Venezuelan military intelligence whistleblower confirmed that the CIA outsources election rigging technology like Smartmatic and Dominion to Venezuela. Donald Trump has posted clip after clip after clip saying these voting systems are crooked and rigged. Carrie Lake, somebody who I believe is also a victim of this, saying that the Venezuelan regime is responsible for rigging elections and election interference and election fraud. No one would know better than Carrie Lake. So yeah, we must focus all of our energy and might on election fraud, says Donald Trump. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why I called it a doomsday for the globalist left. This post has since gone viral. And, well, it looks like Donald Trump is zeroing in on what the real problem is. Listen, you can't run a country like this. You can't have a country where people don't trust their elections or their federal government or any institution. And that country collapses and collapses quickly. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here's just one example of the many videos that President Trump posted on Truth Social about election fraud right after arresting Maduro. Can it be more clear?
I'm going to flash forward to 2 o'clock in the morning. At midnight, Trump was ahead 10%, which was an unusually high amount. To about 2 o'clock in the morning, my monitor went down. It totally rebooted. So unless you can tell me there wasn't a data dump, there wasn't a data breach, I don't believe that the numbers were true, because when I went home and woke up, all of a sudden Biden was ahead.
I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot. In other words, the printing process, appearance, is completely different than what you would get from a first-generation PDF printing.
Do you believe votes were manipulated, changed electronically in favor of Joe Biden? And if so, how was it done?
Well, I certainly do believe it, sir, because I saw it on TV on the crawls underneath television coverage of the election. At least 2 cases. One had about 12,000 votes that magically went from Trump to Biden. And another one about 20,000 votes. In both times, Trump's numbers decreased by exactly the number that Biden's increased. And so before any of this came about, I just had a strong inkling that something was afoot here.
Did you know that in 2008, 500,000 voters, or nearly 19% of all voters in Minnesota, registered on Election Day? What? And did you know that former Senator Al Franken was elected by 312 votes? So I'm not alleging anything on the program, but what I am saying is that this vouching system, which clearly opens the door for potential fraud, could swing statewide elections.
And I'll leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take my word for it. What about Alex Jones?
Are they going to now have Maduro expose Pelosi and the Democrats and the Clintons and the Bushes for the drug dealing they've been involved in? I wouldn't hold your breath with the prosecutors, but definitely Trump is ending the U.S. sanctioning and laundering the money and supporting it, and the election fraud. Because it's not Venezuela and China running it, it's the CIA deep state through China, through Venezuela and Cuba doing it. So Cuba's in deep trouble. Mexico and Scheinbaum, its operations in trouble. Their mothership, Venezuela, that had all this incredible budget and all this incredible money, not for its people, but for control, that's gone. And so Trump's leaving this current government in there. They'd already had Maduro about to go and put in this new puppet. He's like, we're not going to have your puppet. We're going to come in, stabilize it, crank up your production again, turn your standard of living back on, and we're going to fix this. And it's going to work because they have so much wealth. So this is a big deal, folks. On this day, today.
Alex Jones, saying the exact same thing. Well, if I'm hearing it from somebody who I trust and know to be impeccable on these things, somebody who's actually listened and sat down to dinner with Nicolas Maduro, and if Alex Jones is saying it, well, and if Donald Trump is posting about it, you can damn well believe we're onto something. We're over the target. Stay over the target. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's your boy Benny. See ya.